What I enjoy most about poultry is the breeding, keeping and raising of them at home, because it's just so rewarding to be able to produce excellent birds and to improve them each year and to keep them in good health and be able to bring them to a point where there's something to be really proud of in a show. Well, poultry people travel great distances with their birds. We cross state borders. We even fly with our birds to different states. We might travel to royal shows. Birds get moved around the whole country. That means that we could potentially be taking pathogens from our place into a show or into another venue, either on the birds or in the litter or in the equipment that we're carrying. And the spreading of diseases could potentially be disastrous for our flocks and also for other people's flocks, so we have to be very careful with biosecurity. In poultry, disease can spread very easily and very quickly, and there's multiple routes that can happen. For instance, bird-to-bird contact, particularly bird mucus from their nose or mouth contacting with another bird, that can very quickly and easily spread disease. Also, dust and dander in the environment can spread disease, and that's why it's very important that cages are very regularly and well cleaned, and also that there's adequate ventilation in the area where the birds are being housed. Shoes can carry fecal matter and dust and dander in and out of sheds, so it's very important that stewards at shows have clean clothes. So we've got procedures in place to minimise all those risks and keep our birds and other exhibitors and industry safe from disease. Vaccination for poultry is very important. There are some diseases that are quite common that we can prevent through effective vaccination, and which vaccinations you do in your flock will depend on where you live. So in different parts of Australia, in different climates, in different environments, you would select different diseases to target with your vaccination program. Where we live here, we vaccinate for Marek's disease and fowlpox, and we also vaccinate for ILT because there's been some recent outbreaks of that disease. Parasites in poultry are a huge problem from when they are first hatched right through to when they are fully grown and make it to a show. Also, when they get to a show, parasites such as lice or feather mites most commonly can spread amongst other birds in a show. If a bird comes to a show and is seen to have lice, they're immediately removed from the shed. That's not a bird that we would keep in the shed, and that would be reported to the chief steward and dealt with, because we wouldn't want lice or any other external parasites to be spreading to other birds in the shed. So that's something that's taken very seriously at shows, and especially at this show. Internal parasites are dealt with by exhibitors. As their birds are growing out, they would be going through a regular worming program and making sure that their birds are effectively wormed, because otherwise they're not going to grow well.
At home, disease-causing organisms can build up in poultry housing over time, and periodic cleaning can help to reduce the burden of disease. When cleaning your equipment and poultry housing, regularly remove old litter, sand and grit, and replace with clean, fresh material. Remove deep litter at least every 12 months. Thoroughly clean concrete floors, walls and wire netting with soapy water and disinfectant. Spray pens and roosts for mite control. Clean and disinfect equipment and transport cages before and after use. And regularly clean feed and water containers. Wild birds and rodents can carry disease which may spread to your birds by direct contact or indirectly via contaminated droppings in the ground, water and feed. Wild birds can be carriers of many diseases, such as the avian influenza virus and the avian paramyxovirus in pigeons. To avoid contact with wild birds and rodents, have a rodent control program and use bait boxes that can't be accessed by other animals. Provide feed and water inside the poultry house and only feed the daily requirements each day to avoid excess feed sitting around, which attracts rodents. Keep the areas surrounding the poultry house and feed storage clean and tidy, and the grass kept short. If practical, protective netting can help prevent wild birds from entering domestic bird areas. Always have clean and fresh water available. Town water is best as it's been treated. All surface water such as dam water or tank water collected from roofs and gutters should be treated before being given to flocks for drinking or used for cleaning. Chlorine is readily available and suitable treatment. When bringing new birds into the flock, always source from a reputable breeder whose poultry health status is known and avoid general bird markets. Only buy healthy birds. Quarantine and monitor new birds for at least 30 days. Always feed and tend to your existing flock before any new or quarantined birds. Keep records of all bird movements. Check your birds regularly and be familiar with the common signs of disease. Birds that are unwell can show some or all of the following signs: general inactivity, sitting on haunches or lying down, discharges, abnormal droppings, dull and/or closed eyes, respiratory distress such as gasping, coughing or sneezing, a swollen head, loss of appetite, or unusual head and neck posture. Seek veterinary advice if you see any signs of illness in your flock and isolate sick birds until completely recovered.
Well, from an exhibitor's point of view, we would only take birds out of our flock to a show if our entire flock is healthy. So if we have known disease outbreaks in our flock, then we wouldn't move our birds at all. We don't let people come into our flocks and move around. We keep our flocks as isolated as we can. And even within our flocks, we will isolate birds in the way we pen them and respond very quickly to any signs of illness or disease. And all good exhibitors would have a parasite control program in place, and they'd be observing their birds very closely for any signs of disease and responding to those as they would need to keep themselves safe and their birds safe. As far as going to shows with our birds, we'd select the healthy birds. We make sure that our pens are clean, that our transport equipment is clean, that our watering cups, any kind of jugs or watering cans that we're using have to be disinfected and cleaned prior to use. We rely on the shows that we're going to as hosts to be providing us with cages that are meticulously clean, fresh litter. We want to know that good practices are in place there with the stewards there with their hand washing, and we want to make sure that there's no cross-contamination happening. We don't want close contact with other birds. We don't handle other people's birds, we handle our own birds, and at a show we pen our birds individually and reduce any kind of mixing or contamination with other flocks. Any other equipment that you use, such as drinking cups, if you're changing over a drinking cup, you wouldn't use a dirty cup in a new pen. You wouldn't use it on a different bird's pen. So anything used for that one bird is for that bird only, unless it's been cleaned thoroughly for the next bird.
For show organisers, keep adequate records of exhibitors and birds attending shows, plus the details of all poultry sales at the show. Have a separate display area for waterfowl away from all other birds. If only one pavilion is available, equipment should not be shared between waterfowl and other poultry. Post signs in areas where animals are displayed to remind visitors and exhibitors to wash their hands. Have adequate hand washing facilities available in the exhibition area. Have a quarantine area available. Have a knowledgeable poultry keeper check birds on entry for signs of disease or parasites. Encourage all people who handle poultry to regularly wash their hands. Request all exhibitors be registered with a poultry exhibition or breed association. And have a veterinarian present or contactable by phone during the show. Judges handle many birds of different species and from various locations in a small space of time. If a viral disease like ILT is present, then the risk of rapid spread is very high. Ideally, judges should disinfect their hands between handling each bird and wear plastic aprons, which are easier to disinfect by wiping down. However, this is not always possible. As a minimum, judges should change their dust coat or disinfect their apron and sanitize their hands between judging different classifications of poultry. Judges should take care to keep their clothing and equipment clean. When returning home, clean all equipment taken to the show. clean yourself, your clothes, and disinfect footwear, and quarantine returning birds for at least 2 weeks. Following simple but effective biosecurity practices can keep your birds in a healthy environment when exhibiting. Remember, the best way to protect your birds is to follow these general rules. Keep your equipment and poultry yard clean. Avoid contact between your poultry, wild birds and rodents. Don't let feed and water become contaminated by bird droppings or other animal waste. Have a vaccination and parasite control program. Don't take any bird to a show if there are any signs of illness in your flock, so know the signs of disease. Clean and disinfect all bird equipment and transport containers before and after a show. Keep a record of all bird movements in and out of your premises, particularly to shows. Only handle your own birds at the show. Always wash your hands before and after handling birds. And quarantine new and returning birds. If there is a sudden increase in deaths, or if birds are displaying unusual symptoms, report it immediately to your local veterinarian, State Department of Primary Industries, or the Emergency Animal Disease Watch hotline on 1800 675 888. Quick containment of any emergency disease will help to reduce the impact on exhibition stud poultry, the health of other birds, including native species, Australia's commercial poultry meat and egg industries, and human health. More information on biosecurity can be obtained from National Poultry Biosecurity Manuals, your local show organiser, and your State Exhibition Poultry Association.